Hello everyone, here we are at another video of chapter 2. This is going to be for lesson 7 and the last lesson of chapter 2, which is about solving absolute value inequalities. Now absolute value is nothing new to you. We have already learned about absolute values in chapter 1, how to solve absolute value equation. But this lesson is about absolute value inequalities. Similar to that, only the difference is we are going to be dealing with the inequality signs. Already we have discussed enough about the inequality signs. There are 4, so you need to be careful when you are solving those inequalities. All right, so the first question here is solve each inequality and graph the solution. Now the rule remains the same here. What's the rule? First, you need to get rid of this number which is outside the absolute value line. So you could see this is an absolute value. So the absolute value of x minus 2 is less than or equal to 3, which means we need to first solve this inequality and then we will find the possibilities of x. So to start with, we have to remove you have to solve it. So let me keep the absolute value of x as it is less than or equal to 3 plus 2, which means the absolute value of x is going to be less than or equal to 5. Now that I have got the absolute value of x to be less than or equal to 5, definitely I need to give 2 possibilities because we are working with absolute values. So hopefully you do remember what we did in the equation. A little bit different we are going to do in these inequalities. And what's that? One of the possibilities, let me separate this into 2. Okay, so one of the possibilities for this inequality, this absolute value inequality, is going to be the same order as this. So first let me write this: x is less than or equal to 5, same as how it is in the equation above. Inequality above, x is less than or equal to 5. Now what is the other possibility I could give? I'm going to reverse the sign of the inequality as well as the number. I'm going to inverse them. So the next possibility is going to be x is greater than or equal to negative 5. So remember, when you are giving 2 solutions for this absolute value inequality, first one it will be the same as the one in the question, and the other possibility you will reverse that. You will inverse the sign as well as you will inverse the number. So here it's less than or equal to, here you will write greater than or equal to, here it is a positive 5, so you will give the possibility as negative 5. Right, now let's find out whether we could graph this. If I would write this in a compound inequality, can I write this in a compound inequality form? Let's see. Always you know how your compound inequality should be. It should be like this, right? So x is less than or equal to 5 is already there like that. So here I'm going to write x is less than or equal to 5. Now if I would write this in the other way around, that's if I would put negative 5 in front, definitely this will go in this way, right? It's going to flip. That's all. So do you think negative 5 is less than or equal to x could fit here? Yes, it could. So this is going to be your compound inequality. So to graph it, all you need to do is draw a circle, color it, shade it, or close it, whatever you want to say. And another circle on 5, a closed circle because it shows less than or equal to. And all what you need to do is simply join them. That's all. This is how easy it is to solve absolute value inequalities. Let's try one more. What you have to do first is you have to get rid of this positive 5 which is outside the absolute value line. So let the absolute value be inside all without any problem. So the next one is going to be 7 minus 5, which means the absolute value of x plus 1 is going to be less than 2. Now what's the next step? Give 2 possibilities. What are the 2 possibilities you are going to give? One, you are going to write the same one which is in the above inequality, that is x plus 1 is less than 2. And in the other one, what are you going to do? You are going to flip the sign as well as the number, inverse the number. You're going to inverse the sign as well as the number. So here it's less, it becomes greater, and here it is positive 2, now it becomes negative 2. Now we have to solve this. So x is less than 2 minus 1, x is less than 1. How about this one? X is greater than -2, -1, because positive 1 will become -1. So x is less than a -3. Now let's see whether we could write this in a compound inequality form. Now there is no equal sign in either sign, so I'm not writing that. So here we already have x is less than 1. So x is less than 1, I could write here. How about x is greater than -3? If I would flip this, that's going to look like that. So do you think this part could fit here? -3 is less than x? Yes, it could. And also this inequality is right. This compound inequality is right because -3 is less than 1. All what you're going to do is graph it. So we have -3. Don't shield it. Keep it open because it doesn't say equal. Keep it open. And then 1. So again, keep that circle open too because it doesn't say equal. And then simply join the line, points, join the circles. That's all. So the inequality is going to be -3 less than x less than 1, which means any number in between these two can be the solutions for this inequality, can be the value of x. Right, now here again, now you need to be careful here. There is no sign in between, which means this is going to be multiplied. So definitely we need to remove this. So what's the inverse of multiply or the opposite of multiply is divide. So first we need to, this is question number 3. Don't get confused with, it's not a 3.3. It's question number 3, but the question starts from here. Okay. So the question is 3, absolute value of x minus 6 is less than or equal to 9. That means first we need to remove the 3 from here. So to remove the 3, I'm going to divide it with 3, right? It's going to be less than or equal to 9 divided by 3, which means the absolute value of x minus 6 is going to be less than or equal to 3. Now we can give the two possibilities for this inequality, right? One is going to be the same as the inequality above, and the other one you will flip the sign as well as inverse the number. So positive 3 becomes -3, less than or equal to becomes greater than or equal to. Now do draw these lines perfectly, okay? Keep your work neat and clean, as I always say. So 3 plus 6 is going to give you x is less than or equal to 9. And the other side, we are going to move the -6, so that becomes +6 because it's changing its side. So x is greater than or equal to 3. Now let's try to put this in an inequality. You know your inequality will be x in between, and then there will be lesser sign on either sides of them. We already discussed in the previous video that the compound inequality should always have the lesser sign. Now both of them have equal sign, so I could even write the equal sign. What number do you think should come here? Already we have one, x is less than or equal to 9. So x is less than or equal to 9. Now if I would flip this, this would become 3 is less than or equal to x, which means I could write 3 here. Is this inequality right? Yes, it is, because 3 is less than n. 3 is less than 9. So I draw a circle on 3, closed circle, and then also on 9, because it says also equal to, which means 3 also can be a solution. 9 also can be a solution for this inequality. And simply join them. So the value of x could be anything between 3 and 9. Similarly, here again, we need to remove this -1.5. So we need to remove it. What you need to do the opposite or the inverse. So the inverse is going to be +1.5. So this is going to be -1.5. Why am I writing the question again? It's going to be -2.5 plus 1.5 is going to give you 1, right? It's a -1 because 2.5 minus 1.5 is going to give you a 1, and because -2.5 is greater and has a negative now sign, so it's going to be 1. So now, what are you going to do here? You are again going to give the two possibilities. So one of the possibilities for this question is going to be x plus 3 is less than -1, And another one is going to be x plus 3 is greater than 1, because it's going to be the opposite, right? So less becomes greater, negative 1 becomes a positive 1, right? So this is going to be x is less than negative 1, negative 3. So which means it's going to be x is less than negative 4. And this is going to be x is greater than 1 minus 3. X is going to be greater than a negative 2. Let's see if we could put this in a inequality. All right. Now, what I would like to remind you here is that you even do not need to do all these steps, because why I did this is because I just wanted you to show whether we could put this in a compound inequality and check whether the question is, whether the answer is right. So for example, I could say negative 4 here because it's x is less than negative 4, and this is going to be negative 2 is less than x. So is negative 2 less than negative 4? Definitely not. This is a wrong inequality, right? So what I wanted to for you to know here is, if an absolute value equals a negative number, that means this kind of inequalities have no solution, because always remember an absolute value can never be greater or equal to a negative number. Similar as the equations, if any inequality, we did this in chapter 1. So same lesson, same point here. If any absolute value inequality is less than or greater than to a negative number, that means we do not need to do all these parts. All you need to do is you need to say that there is no solution for this equation, for this inequality. As you could see, we cannot write it in a proper form. Even if you try to write it, it's going to be wrong. So whenever it equals a negative number, just say that there is no solution. Right, let's move on to the next question. Now here, again, we need to get rid of the 17. So that means x is greater than 20 minus 17. So the absolute value of x is going to be greater than 3. So now you know what to do. So the two possibilities are going to be, one is going to be x is greater than 3, and the other one is going to be x is less than negative 3. Let's try to put this in an inequality. Do you think we could put this in an inequality? No, we can't, right? Because so like even if you would try to put it an inequality, it's again going to like be a wrong one. So, but we could not say that this inequality does not have any solution because it does not have a negative number, right? So we are going to graph this inequality with an or. So x is greater than 3 or x is less than negative 3. And you know what to do there. So negative 3, x is less, so that means your arrow will go to the right. And then x is greater than 3, your arrow will go to the, sorry, here it will go to the left and here it will go to the right. Right. Now again, I'm repeating these kinds of questions where you cannot again write them in an inequality form. It doesn't mean necessarily all those which you cannot be written doesn't have inequality, like no solution. Only if it has a negative sign number, then it is no solution. If not, if you cannot still write them in an inequality form, then you need to use the word or to separate the two inequalities. Right, so let's check this out. X minus 6 is greater than negative 3 plus 7, which means absolute value of x minus 6 is going to be 4. Again, give the two possibilities. So one is going to be x minus 6 is greater than 4. Another one is going to be x minus 6 is less than negative 4. Flip the sign as well as the number. I mean, inverse them. So this is going to be x is greater than 4 plus 6, which is going to be x is greater than 10. And this is going to be x is greater less than negative 4 plus 6. So x is going to be less than 2. Now, do you think if you put this in an inequality, you are going to get something like this? Do you think this is right? No, this is a wrong inequality. So how are we going to separate them? With the word or. So here it's going to be 10. So it will go greater, x is greater than 10, and this is less than 2, so it goes to the left. Right? Let's check this out. So this is a bit longer because it has a fraction. So it's multiplied by half, which means it's going to be divided by half on this side. As well, you know now, for solving dividing fractions, you need to use the rule, right? Keep it, change it, flip it. So that's going to give you x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 4. Now give the two possibilities for this. One is going to be x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 4. Another one is going to be x plus 5 is less than or equal to negative 4. So here this is going to be x is greater than 4 minus 5. So that's x is greater than a negative 1. Here it's going to be x is less than or equal to negative 4, negative 5. So x is going to be less than or equal to negative 9. Now, do you think if you would put this in an inequality, again, is it going to be right? Definitely not, because negative 9 is not greater than negative 1. If you would put it, you have to put it like that. So here negative 9 and here it's going to be negative 1. Is negative 1 less than negative 9? Definitely not. Again, you have the word or for this. So x is greater than negative 1. So it goes to the right. And x is less than or equal to negative 9 goes to the left, shaded and shaded because it says equal. Don't forget to shade. Right, now this kind of last question, the next ones are going to be problem solving. So we have 3, this is multiplied, so we're going to divide, right? So you could even keep this and give the two possibilities, or if you want, you can change it into a decimal, but I would prefer to keep it like this rather than keeping it as a mixed number. So it is easy to work with fractions in this way. So one is going to be 3 over 2, and the other one is going to be x minus 2 is going to be less than 3, negative 3 over 2. You have to be a bit careful when you're working on these kinds of questions because you might go wrong anywhere. So this is going to be 3 over 2 plus 2, okay, and this is going to be negative 3 over 2 plus 2. Now, hopefully you do know what you need to do here. So this is going to be 2, this is a whole 2, so it's going to be something like 2, 3 over 2. Okay, so again, you could see that it's not a proper fraction, right? So we need to change it back. And this is again going to be x is less than or equal to, you're going to subtract 2 from 2 whole from negative 3 over 2. So that's going to give you something. If you would solve, now I'm not going into deep details of how to solve because by now you need to know how to solve these fractions. So this is going to give you an answer of x is greater than 3.5. Okay, and this is going to be x is less than or equal to 0.5. Even if you would have changed that into a fraction, that's going to give you the same answer. Why did I not put these all here? Okay, now again, if you would put this in an inequality, definitely you're not going to get the inequality right. So which means you have to use the word or to separate these two inequalities. So this is going to be 3.5, x is greater than 3.5, so it's somewhere here in between, and then shaded. This is going to be x is less than 0.5, so it's going to be somewhere here. X is less, so it will go all the way here. So this is how you need to graph it. Do take care when you're solving these fractions. So these two inequalities, the organizers of the drama club wanted to sell 350 tickets to their show. The actual sales were no more than 35 tickets from the goal. So no more means it cannot be greater. It needs to be lesser than or equal to. So let's write. So it has to be no more than 35. So what do you think is going to be inside the absolute value lines? They want to sell 350. So that's going to be x minus 350, right? Because they wanted to sell 350. So we do not know this amount. So I think now you could solve this. If you would solve, you will get your answer as one of the possibilities is x minus 350 is less than or equal to 35. And the other possibility is x minus 350 is going to be greater than or equal to negative 35. you would solve this, one of the answer you're going to get is x is less than or equal to, it's going to be 35 plus 350. So it's 385. And the other possibility you're going to get is x is greater than or equal to 315 because you're going to subtract, right? 35. This is, I don't know what this thing is here. So 35 minus 35, right? Minus 35 plus 350 is going to give you 350. So they could have solved the question is write an absolute value inequality and find the range. So they could have solved the tickets between 385 and 350. This is how you need to write the inequality. Right, the temperature at noon in Los Angeles on a summer day was 88. During the day, temperature varied from this by as much as 7.5. So varied in the sense it could have not gone more, like between 7.5. So again, that means it's going to be less than or equal to 7.5. Now inside the absolute value line, what comes? We need to find the temperature varied. So it was x minus 88. This is how you need to write. It's easy to write if you read the question. So x minus 88 is less than or equal to 7.5, or it could be x minus 88 is greater than or equal to negative 7.5. Now, if you would solve this, one of the answer you're going to get is going to be 90.5. So x is less than 90.5. Now, I hope I don't need to keep doing all the steps because there's going to be 7.5 plus 88. So that's going to give you a 95.5. 90.5. So 90.5 is going to be this one. Sorry, 80.5. Because it's going to be 7.4 minus 7.5 plus 88. So you're going to subtract it. So the inequality when you write is going to be like this. 95.5 and 80.5 here. So the temperature variety was between 80.5 and 95.5, somewhere between these two numbers. So this was all your homework answers. Hopefully you have understood the lesson. It's a very easy lesson, same as how you would solve an absolute value inequality, absolute value equation. Only you need to keep in mind if any is equal to a negative number, then it doesn't have a solution. But if you could not write it in a compound inequality, then you use the word or to separate it. So you comment and let me know how many answers are right. It's all right if you to get it wrong, no problem. So till we meet again, take care of yourselves. Keep doing that.